Disbelief Papyrus, also known as Genocide Papyrus, is a fan-created character born from a rumor suggesting that in an alternative version of Undertale's Genocide Route, Papyrus would take on the role of the final boss instead of sænz. Many fanarts were created about this, and later on a fan animation, and after that even a fan game with multiple endings. In this version, Papyrus is often depicted wearing sænz jacket as a symbol of his fallen brother and wielding an extraordinarily long bone, nearly matching his own height. His battle design features a striking visual contrast. His right eye glowing orange with determination, while his left eye socket shares a tear, reflecting his grief and inner conflict. The story unfolds with a significant departure from the original Undertale timeline. Unlike the canonical game, sænz steps in to fight the protagonist in Snowdin, preventing Papyrus from engaging in battle. Having witnessed the massacre of his friends and loved ones countless times before, sænz, exhausted and despaired, attempts to put an end to the cycle of destruction once and for all. However, despite his effort, he is ultimately defeated by the human, meeting his demise in Snowdin. This tragic loss serves as the catalyst for Papyrus' transformation into Disbelief Papyrus, setting the stage for this climactic battle, followed by sorrow, rage, and unwavering resolve. As you can already imagine, Papyrus was devastated after witnessing his brother's death, falling into a depression that only worsened as the human continues their rampage, slaughtering more and more monsters. Slowly, he came to the painful realization of the destruction the human has caused, and would continue to cause if he wouldn't stop it. Determined to take action, Papyrus resolves to confront the human himself. However, despite his grief and anger, Papyrus remains conflicted. He struggles to understand why the human commits such atrocities. Was it all part of an elaborate joke he simply didn't understand? Was it all just a prank? Perhaps sænz, with his unusual wit and cryptic knowledge, would have been able to explain it and would have been able to stop the human, but with his brother gone, there was no one left to provide answers. Now standing in the face of the inevitable battle, Papyrus clings to a final hope. He still believes that the human is capable of change, that redemption is possible, but he also knows that action have consequences. If words alone won't reach the human, then he must teach them a lesson, the only way he can, through battle. Phase 1. Papyrus' battle is significantly more difficult than in the Pacifist Route. Now wielding Gaster Blaster, he remains hesitant to truly harm the humans, still believing in their potential for goodness. Unlike most enemies, Papyrus does not dodge. Instead, he blocks incoming attacks with his massive bone. Occasionally, he interrupts elements of sænz attack styles, utilizing blue bones as well as orange bones to challenge the player's reflexes. As the battle progresses, Papyrus' weapons begin to crack under the strain of repetitive attacks. Eventually, after sustaining enough damage, the bone shatters completely, signaling the end of Phase 1. It has to be noted, however, that this only happened because Papyrus had a breakdown after almost being able to kill the human, but deciding in the last moment not to kill the human and breaking down in all his depression and knowledge that all his friends are dead. In this moment, the human took his knife and slashed and slashed and slashed, but right in the moment where the human would have hit Papyrus, he blocked and blocked and blocked until the bone cracked and he was sick of it. In the thick of it. He's in the thick of it, everybody knows. He now starts Phase 2. He is at the prime when he enters Phase 2. No one can stop him, not even his bro. Sorry for singing sick of it, but I was sick of it. Anyways, Phase 2. With his original weapon destroyed, Papyrus now wields the broken half of his bone, one in each hand. Occasionally he spins the left piece as part of his attack pattern. At the start of this phase, the protagonist's health is fully restored, but this offers little relief. Papyrus' fury is unleashed. Blinded by rage, Papyrus refuses to engage in dialogue and manipulates the battlefield itself. The player's movement box shifts unpredictably, making it harder to avoid these relentless barrages. The battle options terminally falls from their position, leaving the player without the ability to act or heal for brief moments before they flicker back into place. Papyrus' frustration is palpable, making this phase one of pure survival. Phase 3 begins with an exhausted Papyrus appear to be seemingly ready to give up. However, in a moment renewed determination, he is reminded himself that he is the great Papyrus. Drawing upon sheer willpower, he manifests illusion of sænz and Papyrus, summoning their aid in battle. Throughout they are not truly resurrected, their presence fuels helps Papyrus resolve. His stance shifts, one fist raising high in the air, the other resting at his side as he fights with unparalleled strength. While most of his attacks remain manageable, some are intentionally unfair, overwhelming the player with little room for error. His stats are maxed out at 9,999 each, making him nearly unstoppable. His special attacks is both absurd and devastating. He and sænz wear their cool dude outfits and engage in a surreal game of Pong, using the protagonist's souls as the ball while launching bones at them. Once this attack concludes, Undyne briefly returns to the battlefield, fighting alongside them. However, as the phase nears its end, Papyrus comes to the painful realization sænz and Undyne were never truly there. They were merely illusions born from his desperate hope. Overcome with guilt, he apologizes to them before moving on to the final stage of the battle, while they disappear. Phase 4. Papyrus' once pristine battle body is now heavily damaged, and his arms hang limply on his side. His attacks are simpler, more resistant, almost as if he has no longer the will to continue fighting. But this would be wrong. All these 3 phases before Phase 4 were him in an attempt to teach the human a lesson by not acting as himself. But in Phase 4, he does teach the human a lesson by acting as himself, and uses attacks patterns that are resembling his own character. Throughout this phase, Papyrus pleads with the protagonist, insisting that there is still a chance for a better outcome. He urges them to spare him, believing in their goodness even now. In a heartbreaking moment, he maintains this fate, even if the player chooses to strike him down. Despite the emotional weight of this final phase, his attacks take an almost comical edge, incorporating unusual elements like basketballs and race cars. This odd justification only makes the confrontation feel more tragic. Ultimately, Phase 4 marks the end of the battle. One final chance for the protagonist to determine Papyrus' fate. The original animation ends with the player striking Papyrus down and down, while Papyrus still believes in the human, even after the human cuts down his head and slices his head down, until there's only atoms remaining. There exist multiple endings in the, I think, official fan-made version of Disbelief, I'm not really sure, where the player can spare Papyrus, but that is something you should play yourself. I'll link both the animation and the official fan game down in the description, so you should play it for yourself. But for now, that was Disbelief Papyrus, and I wish you all a bloody good day. I will now be listening to Game of Thrones. Goodbye.